Well, hi guys, welcome back to Linda's Pantry. And today, oh, I'm so excited. We get to do another recipe out of the brand new Ball book of canning and preserving. I'm telling you, I love this book. And every time I open it, I find something new. So I really just need to read it cover to cover. It reads like a cookbook in a lot of ways. And it just gives you some tremendous ideas to start canning, because I think a lot of people struggle with, what am I going to use that in? And I've always been, or I've evolved into that ingredient list canner, because when we go to the store, we buy enchilada sauce to make enchiladas. We buy the meat separate. We do. So I really want that grabbable stuff. And today, the enchilada sauce that I'm making is a recipe that's in here. Now, I will say that I'm probably going to tweak it a little bit because my recipe differs from this, but I'm going to give it a try. I've already been told by a subscriber that they loved it, and so that's what we're going to do. And it requires some Mexican chilies, and at the end of the video, I'll leave a snapshot of this recipe in the page, and they give you a beautiful picture right there in that book. If you don't have this book and you are a home canner or you want to be a home canner, you need to go in the about section below and click on that link for this book. It'll be the best $13.95 you ever spent. Now in Canada, I believe it's $24.95, and then when you get over to places like Australia, my gosh, they're having to pay $30 and $40 for it, which I think that's very unfair. All right, so we are going to need 12 dried Mexican chili peppers, 2 cups of boiling water, 4 garlic cloves, and we like a lot of garlic in our enchilada sauce, so I'm probably going to bump that up a little bit. 1 tablespoon of olive oil, 5 cups of coarsely chopped onions, and that takes about 4 large onions, 6 cups of canned diced tomatoes. Now, why would I buy canned when I already have my homegrown canned tomatoes? Now these are stewed tomatoes, but you're going to puree this, so it really doesn't matter. And these have some other vegetables in there as well. So I've got, these are diced tomatoes with celery in them. Won't hurt a thing. You'll never know. So we're going to use that. So that gives you an idea. If you can recan canned food, you can use your home canned stuff. So I get asked all the time, is that okay to do that? And yes, it is. Yes. Okay. A half a cup of firmly packed brown sugar will go in there. 2 tablespoons of chili powder, 2 teaspoons of salt, so it's really low in sodium. 2 teaspoons of ground cumin, and 1 teaspoon of ground red pepper. And we like a little bit heat, so if I taste it and don't think it has enough, because this is going to make 8 pint jars. So, and if you've priced enchilada sauce, you get, I believe you get 20 ounces in their can, maybe even more. I'll try to find that out. But it's $2 or $2.30 for enchilada sauce, and I'm going to make this. These are free, so that's nothing. I get my onions at Costco in bulk, and they last for months. I put them in the garage refrigerator. Okay, so these are very inexpensive. I'll try to price this out. It's not that expensive. I'm looking at what I'm probably under $3 for 8 pints of this. So to me, it's a win-win, and I'm not going to run my canner load full because I don't know if I like this recipe or not. This pressure cans for 50 minutes, and normally when I have a load that goes that long, I like to go ahead and put something that has comparable time in there or load it up. But like I said, I don't know that I want 16 pints of enchilada sauce, but I know I can use 8 pints of it in 6 months or 8 months for sure. Because they also give you tips right next or down below the ingredients list. Here's a perfect pairing, they're calling it. Use this as a braising sauce for chicken or pork. Add it to beans or drizzle it on fish, tacos, fajitas, and huevos rancheros. So that's what we're making today. Sorry, it's so long-winded. I've got all my ingredients out. I've got my lids in a bowl where I can pour hot water over them. And what you first want to do is prepare your peppers. Now, it has you blister these, but not char them because they will become bitter. I am gonna, that is not how I do my peppers. I'm gonna take the seeds and caps off of these. I'm gonna steep them, and I think that you get a better result if you do it that way. I've tried the blistering, and sometimes they become bitter anyway. So, and 12 of these peppers, they were all different sizes. So a couple of these made up for one of these. So count them out the way you can. And let's get started. I'm gonna steep these peppers. We're gonna get those prepared, get our onions and our garlic and everything cut up and ready to go. And I think this is gonna go really fast. The longest part is gonna be waiting until these steep down. And then, yeah, oh boy, okay. So I've got my garlic here in the pan, and I did bump it up a couple cloves, but no worries, it's gonna be delicious. And I think for this size of food, I mean, I'm pretty good with putting together what's gonna be palatable. And I am tweaking the recipe one more time. I've got my peppers right here in this covered dish steeping, and so they get soft. And it wants you to, you put 2 cups of boiling water over them. It wants you to reserve a cup of that water for in your sauce. And I find if you use that water, that's when you get bitter peppers. So I'm not gonna do that. We're gonna replace that cup of water with a really nice Mexican beer, okay? And that's part of my enchilada sauce, so I might as well put it in this one. And it's not gonna change the timing, it's not gonna change anything, it's just liquid. So that being said, we're gonna get our onions in here. And this is a lot of onion, but again, that's what flavors the broth. And then when you go to make a dish, as we put them all over the countertop, your dish is already heavily seasoned. You know, it's a no-brainer fast food chop. You don't have to do any chopping. It's already been done. And so it's gonna be fantastic. Okay, I'm gonna go take this to the stove and saute it. I did saute the garlic for just about 30 seconds, and I don't want to burn my garlic, so I'd rather put the onions in as well. So we're gonna saute these till the onions are soft, and then we're gonna add our tomatoes and our peppers and our beer and all the rest of our spices and sugar to the mix. We're gonna simmer that until we can wazamigate it. Until we can blend it with the immersion blender. All right, guys, this is gonna be delicious. So my onions have sauteed down, and now it's time to add the rest of the ingredients. So I've got my beer, and I'm gonna put a cup of that, because that's what it called for, a cup of the reserve liquid. Oh, look, there's still a sippy sip. What time is it? And you should use a beer that you like. I would use Corona. This is a nice Mexican beer too. That is really good. Okay, so moving forward, we've got our beer in there, and the onions have shrunk down by about half. So our tomatoes go in, and it calls for 6 cups. So if you've got a quart and a pint, you're perfect. And now my brown sugar, and I put all the other spices in this ramekin together while my onions were going. Just makes it easier for you guys. These peppers have been steeping now for about 20-25 minutes, and they're steaming hot. And I did put a little bit more boiling water, since I wasn't going to be using the reserved water, or the water from this, because if you've ever done that, you can get bitter enchilada sauce, and we don't want any bitter flavor. So go ahead and get all your peppers in there, and this is all going to get pureed down together. Now you could strain it if you want it super smooth, but I don't mind. My enchilada sauce, sometimes I strain it, sometimes I don't. All right, so we've got all the peppers are now in the pot. We're gonna bring this up to a boil, and let this cook for a few minutes. I'm going to check the recipe and see. So you're going to bring all this up to a boil. I'm going to go ahead and do the immersion blender on it and then let it simmer for 25 minutes. And if after that 25 minutes I think it needs more pureeing, I can do it again. And then we're going to be ready to load our jars. And this is a fair amount. It's not a full, it's about, this 5-quart stock pot is about halfway full, but I'm anxious to taste it because it smells amazing already. So I'm going to bring you back when we're jarring it up. So now we're ready to jar this up. But before I start, I want to let you know that I changed the recipe a little bit. It was extremely thick, and it actually wants you to thicken it up quite a bit. And I did let it reduce a little bit, but I felt like it was too thick to start and then simmer for 25 minutes. And then when I tasted it, it had a little bit too much sweet for me, so I will cut back on the sugar next time. So I added 2 tablespoons of red wine vinegar for some acidic to balance that out. Another teaspoon of salt, which is still very little for this amount, and some more red pepper. Now, and another jar of tomato sauce, just sauce, not anything else, because I needed it to be a little thinner and I needed to balance out that sweetness. There was too much sweetness. I also felt like it was missing what I put in my own, and that was Mexican oregano. So I did a tablespoon of that, crushed it up, and it is delicious. I'm telling you right now, it is so good. And I'm excited to put this on my shelf. It's definitely thicker than, you can kind of see that, and I'll bring you in close for a jar, but it's definitely thicker than the 28-ounce cans of enchilada sauce you buy in the store that's ridiculously expensive. And because we're pressure canning, rule of thumb for that is 1 inch of headspace, because you're putting this under pressure. It has to have room to expand, or you're going to lose all your liquid, and then your jars may not seal because they've been, yeah, nasty. And usually on liquid, you're good to go just tapping it, but I'll stick the Pokey Dough right on in there and put that in another jar. Wipe your rim, and it's a beautiful dark red brick color. It is stunning. I'm excited. And I'm going to reserve some of this out because we're going to have shrimp tacos tonight. So one of the recommendations was to have it on with tacos. So look at that. It's beautiful. Okay, so I'm gonna put this in the canner now. The canner's at about 180 degrees. You always want your canner about the same temperature as whatever you're canning this jar, because you take a chance of thermal shocking your jars. And usually if you've thermal shocked a jar, the whole bottom of the jar will come out like it wasn't ever put together right or done right. And years ago I had that happen with salsa, and it was because I put hot salsa into a cold canner. And as soon as that canner started up, it went pop, and what a mess. Anyway, so let's get this in the canner. I'll bring you in close, and we're gonna show you how beautiful this is. Okay, so let's get this. And you notice I have red towel down, so if I christen see how thick that is? It's really thick. And I really like it because I've always kind of complained that the enchilada sauce was too watery. And if you wanted it thinner, you were making something that needed to be thinner, go ahead and add some water or some chicken stock or some more beer. And then go ahead and debubble with the debubbling tool. And it's a very good habit to be in, the debubbling. 1 inch of headspace. If you're unsure, take that tool and set it on the edge of your jar. And that last little stair step, it should just barely touch the top of your food, and this is absolutely perfect. And that's the bottom of this ring here. So it's easy to tell whether you've got it. Don't be tempted to overfill your jars. All you're gonna do is cause problems. And get a lid on. Woo, I'm excited for dinner now. I've got 2 pounds of shrimp thawing out. My husband's gonna be so excited. Okay. And in the canner it goes. And so we're gonna put these in the canner. We're gonna let this come up to speed and let it vent for 10 minutes once we get a good steam coming out the pitcock. Then we will put after that 10 minutes, we'll put our weight on, let it come up to 15 pounds of pressure, and that's for my altitude. So you check your altitude. There's a chart in the ball canning book. The new ball book that I've got, it's very easy, and I've earmarked the page, so if I have a question, the only thing that varies for me is water bath canning. I know that I'm always 15 pounds pressure when pressure canning, but water bath canning, you have to increase the time. So let's put this in the canner. So my canner has come down off of pressure after 50 minutes of processing, and now it's time to take the jars out. And I'm excited. I have one Easy Seal Tattler lid. Thanks, Darlene. A friend of mine sent me those. And remember, don't tip your jars. Now, as soon as this came down off of pressure and I felt like it was okay to take that weight off, I took the weight off, but I also unscrewed your thumb screws and took the lid off, and it's been sitting here for about 10 minutes. It's letting the jars acclimate. I've already heard jars pinging, so that's kind of my indicator that I can go ahead and take them out. They're going to be all right, and this looks absolutely beautiful. I have no siphoning inside the canner. The water is clear, and it doesn't look like there's any siphoning gonna happen. That's fantastic. And I really feel like letting the temperature changes happen very slowly is what helps that. And again, don't overfill your jar, and don't rush anything, because if you rush it, what's happening in that jar right now, okay, so the pressure has pushed all the air out and your food is expanded to the top, or almost to the top, whatever. And so as it cools, the food, kind of deflates, if you will. It deflates, and as it comes back down, it sucks that lid down. That's the vacuum that causes the lid to seal. So hopefully that makes sense to you. And if it bugs you that, see, and your rings are going to be loose, but if it bugs you that you've got water on your lid, get over it. I was the worst about tipping jars for a long, long time. And now I can see the jar that I had that didn't get all the way full, and I was lacking about a ½ inch of head space on that one, and it's up above that right now, but it's going to settle down and sink when that vacuum is created. And let me just bring you a jar so you can see it up close, because this is beautiful. It's a gorgeous brick red, and we're going to have this tonight. We're going to have shrimp tacos, and I'm going to use this to cook my shrimp in. I'm just going to braise my shrimp, or poach my shrimp in this, I should say. Not braise it, but we're going to poach the shrimp in this enchilada sauce, and they're going to be delicious tacos. Oh, guys, I hope this inspires you to jump into canning. Home canning is a way to save money. This cost me less than $3. I added it up, less than $3, and I have 8 pints, or 8 meals, if you will, with something that would have cost me $2. I never ever use that whole 28-ounce can, and so this is a perfect amount. As far as I know, from what I tasted, I'm making this again, and we're gonna know for sure after we have the processed product. And I always try to test the recipe completely, because taste can change after being processed for that long. So you wanna make sure that you like the end product, and maybe there's something you should adjust. Know that when you're adding heat to things, and some spices, they become stronger as they sit on your shelf. Like salsa, make it mild to medium, and you'll end up a year later, it'll be hot, because everything got a chance to really get acquainted and just intensify. But this will be absolutely wonderful. I already know, and I'm definitely going to make it again. And so, guys, stay tuned for some recipes with this. And if you want to see more canning videos, let me know in the comment section below. Also, go down in the About section and check out the link to the All-American Canner, the canning book that I got this recipe out of. And I'm going to, again, give you a picture of that recipe. And I'm going to take the picture after I put my notes in, so maybe that'll help you too. All right, and excuse my handwriting. It was really hard to write at the bottom of that. I'm a lefty, and yeah, anyway. All right, guys, I can't wait to see you next time for another delicious recipe or wonderful canning session, because I love this.